Travel is an interest that never grows old. It's impossible to experience the wealth of human cultures and natural landscapes in a single lifetime. So most travelers attempt to prioritize a series of magnificent locations spread across the planet. Today, we're looking at the 10 most beautiful places in
10. Lake Retba, Senegal. On the northwest coast of Africa, about 18 miles northeast of the Senegalese capital, Dakar, is a lake like anything you'll find elsewhere in the world. Called Lake Retba, it has an extremely high salt content, and this provides ideal conditions for Dunaliella salina algae to thrive, which are bright red-colored and make the water appear to be pink. This unusual hue is far more prominent during the region's dry season between November and June, and the effect is accentuated by the magenta bushes that grow around its shores. The lake is an important economic center too, with thousands of people who rely on retrieving and selling the salt deposits, as well as fishing the waters. Catches here don't quite match up to what's possible in other lakes, however, because to survive in such salty water, the fish only grow to around 1/4 the size they would do elsewhere.
Maldives have a reputation as a stellar vacation destination, with picturesque beaches and a string of seemingly perfect island paradises. But Vadu Island, part of the Ra Atoll, is easily one of the most jaw-dropping locations on Earth. By day, it looks like any other holiday destination. With a population of only 500, the small island mostly caters to tourists and beachcombers. But at night, something spectacular happens. Through a process called bioluminescence, a population of microscopic plankton turn the ocean bright blue. Bioluminescence indicates that an organism can produce light independently. Stress caused by the movement of the sea and waves leads the plankton to emit light as a defense mechanism similar to some fireflies. The bioluminescent light has an electric blue neon color, radiating further as each wave breaks. The spectacular phenomena is one of nature's rarest events. It's so remarkable, Hollywood decided to feature the glowing shores in Ang Lee's award-winning film, Life of Pi, to illuminate the sea for the lost protagonist. Also known as the Sea of Stars, this occurrence in the Maldives depends on several factors, including the year's climate and the growth of the bioluminescent plankton. Nobody can predict when and where the event will occur. Vadu Island is the most well-known spot, but it can also be viewed on one of the other 1,200 islands in the Maldives under the right conditions. According to locals, the spectacular event is more prevalent from late summer to the end of the year, but these are just personal accounts. The exact time and
within a forest near the town of Grafino in Poland is a phenomenon that has confused researchers and visitors alike ever since it was first discovered. Called the Crooked Forest, there are an estimated 400 pine trees that have for some reason grown very differently to normal. It's thought that they were planted during the 1930s when the region was a part of Germany, and after emerging from the ground like usual, they bent towards the north for several feet before growing upwards again. It's not known why this has happened and why it's something that only these 400 trees have done, but there's a couple of theories. The first is that it's the result of human design, perhaps because of a tool that was used when they were first planted, or the alternative suggestion is that they were all subject to a freak weather event, such as a snowstorm while they were young in their development. No records exist to support either theory, however, so it's quite possible we'll never know for certain. Number 7. Stone Forest, Madagascar. Madagascar is usually thought of as a place with an unparalleled amount of biodiversity, but its geographical features are equally impressive. The Stone Forest, which is within the Tsingy-de-Bemaraha National Park, began life hundreds of millions of years ago as a lagoon. Limestone deposits formed on the bed and, due to tectonic activity, were lifted above the water's surface. As the lagoon receded, more limestone was revealed, and it was worn away by the monsoon rains over the following millennia. This, combined with groundwater erosion that formed caves that subsequently collapsed, has left a series of towers with canyons between them, which has resulted in the largest such formation in the world. Its name means where one cannot walk barefoot, and that's an apt warning. These pillars, some of which are up to 2,600 feet high, are sharp enough to easily cut through flesh or equipment, so have to be traversed with the utmost of care.
Location are likely to vary for different islands. Palawan is the largest island of the province of Palawan in the Philippines and the 5th largest island of the country. Although the island is a popular tourist destination, it fulfills the ideal image of an unspoiled tropical environment. With seascapes the equal of any in Southeast Asia and terrestrial and aquatic wildlife, the Philippines' most sparsely populated region is also the most beguiling. As of 2016, the main island of Palawan was rated the most beautiful island in the world, as voted by respective readers of rival travel publications Condé Nast Traveller and Travel and Leisure. It's the second year running that Palawan has won the Condé Nast Traveller Award, as well as the second time in 4 years that it has occupied Travel and Leisure's top spot. Of course, there are no objective criteria to rate the best beach, but Palawan comes extremely close to perfection. It's the most biodiverse island in the Philippines. Due to amazing landscapes and high biodiversity, Palawan Island is known as the last ecological frontier of the Philippines. Environmentalists have insisted that the Philippines government place restrictions on the beach so that it can remain beautiful for generations to come. More than just a blindingly white expanse, the alien landscapes of Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni and its surreal surrounding deserts have become a rightful highlight of the South American tourist trail. An endless sheet of hexagonal tiles dotted with pyramids of salt, Bolivia's salt flats are a dazzling display of nature's magic. Despite the desert dryness, freezing night temperatures, and fierce desert sun, this landscape is not devoid of life. Pink flamingos, ancient cacti, and rare hummingbirds all live in the Salar de Uyuni. But aside from being the ideal location to produce mind-bending photographs, it's also full of cacti-covered islands, dormant volcanoes, and other wildlife. Truly unique in the world, the salt flats are the kind of place that photos don't do justice. You've got to see the Salar in person to be truly wowed. In addition to local workers who harvest these minerals, the landscape is home to the world's first salt hotel and populated by road-tripping tourists. The harsh beauty and desolate nature of Salar de Uyuni can make for an incredible experience.
Number 5. Richat Structure, Mauritania. Also known as the Eye of Africa, the Richat Structure is a strange formation in the desert rock near the small town of Ouadane in Mauritania. The inverse dome is 25 miles in diameter and has exposed various layers of rock that appear like concentric rings. It's one of the easiest natural structures to see from space, but amazingly, it's very hard to see from ground level. And if you were there, you'd probably be unable to notice anything different about it from the surrounding land. Quite how it was formed has been the subject of scientific debate ever since it was first discovered in the 1930s. The first assumption was that it's an impact crater from a meteorite, but the lack of evidence of any superheated rocks has ruled this out. Instead, it's been formed by millions of years of erosion of softer rock that was probably deposited during a time when the region was underwater. Quite why this happened in such a circular fashion is still unclear. There are ridges and valleys that follow the concentric lines of the Richat Structure, and evidence has been found that humans have lived here for hundreds of thousands of years. Ancient artifacts have been unearthed that date back to the Stone Age, such as tools and spears. Strangely, however, none have been found at the center of this depression, which also discounts any possibility that this was a prehistoric mine of some sort. With such delicate rock, there are calls to make the structure a protected site to ensure it can be studied for years to come and, hopefully, reveal some of the secrets as to how this strange place came to be. Number 4. Fly Geyser, Nevada, USA. Fly Geyser looks like it would be at home on an alien planet, but amazingly, it's only about 20 miles north of the town of Gerlach in Nevada. Although you might think this to be a natural formation, it actually is the result of human activity when a well was drilled in 1916 with a view to irrigating water. Due to the geothermal activity in the region, the water was close to boiling point, so the well was abandoned. But a calcium carbonate cone began to form around the opening. A second hole was dug in 1964 by an energy company, but the water wasn't hot enough for their needs, so they abandoned it too. And the structure that formed around it is what we see today. It has a number of openings which the water shoots 5 feet high out of, and the entire structure is currently between 25 and 30 feet tall. Various platforms and pools have also been created across 74 acres. The water's unusually high silica content and the presence of algae that thrive in the conditions are responsible for the multicolored deposits that have solidified around it. And because it's heated to a temperature of around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it produces quartz, something that usually takes 10,000 years to happen in other geysers. Even though there are a couple of other geysers nearby that have been formed in a similar way, none are as large or as impressive as the Fly Geyser is. Therefore, one of a kind and something you won't see anywhere else in the world. Number 3. Nika Mine, Mexico. What's the biggest crystal you've ever seen? Well, however large you thought it was, it's nothing compared to what a team of miners discovered near Nika in Chihuahua, Mexico. In 1910, a cavern was found at a depth of 390 feet, which has become known as the Cave of Swords. And to their astonishment, it was full of gypsum crystals that were up to 3 feet 3 inches long. 90 years later, another mining crew took things a step further when they were drilling a new shaft and found the Giant Crystal Cave, which itself was 980 feet beneath the surface. This cave had once been flooded with hot water, which allowed minerals to deposit in crystalline structures. The largest of the crystals to have been seen was 39 feet long, 13 feet wide, and thought to weigh as much as 55 tons, which makes it the largest one ever to have been found. Conditions in the cave aren't exactly inviting to people though, with temperatures reaching 136 degrees Fahrenheit and a 99% humidity. Humans can only be in there for up to 10 minutes without full safety equipment. Even if you were prepared for this, it's not possible to visit the cave currently. After a robber tried to steal a crystal and ended up suffocating and dying, it was shut permanently and allowed to refill with water in the hope that the crystals can be preserved and continue to grow until improved methods of exploration become available. Number 2. The Gates of Hell, Turkmenistan. Not only is the existence of the Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan hard to believe, but the way it was formed is perhaps even more difficult to believe. If you had visited this place near the village of Devasa 50 years ago, it would have looked just like the surrounding Karakum Desert, with sand stretching out in every direction you look. In the 1970s, the country was part of the Soviet Union, and the authorities were on a campaign to identify all areas of natural resources that could be mined and used to support the growing population. In 1971, geologists arrived in the area and believed the ground below to contain a cavern that was full of oil. So they set up a test rig to drill down and take further measurements, but soon found there to be a large pocket of gas just beneath the surface. Now, there are no official Russian or Turkmen records of what happened next, but according to the sources close to operations at the time, the ground collapsed beneath the rig and swallowed the drill, as well as several top Soviet scientists. The remaining researchers were now faced with a problem. They could detect large quantities of methane being released from the hole they had just created, and believed this to be a possible health hazard. Their calculations suggested that the best way to deal with it was to burn the gas, and that it would run out within a few weeks. It was then decided to throw a grenade into the hole, and the Gates of Hell was born. Someone calculated it wrong, because since that day almost 50 years ago, the hole is continually burned. The crater is now approximately 230 feet across and 66 feet deep, and is filled with fires, boiling mud, and ferocious orange flames. Plans have often been drafted to try and extinguish it for good, especially considering it sat above one of the largest natural gas deposits that are anywhere on Earth. But such is the scale of the problem that no one yet has found an adequate solution. Now it's one of the most popular tourist sites in the country, and has become an area of biological research because of the organisms that have been found to be living in the center of the crater. It may perhaps burn out one day like the scientists in the 1970s thought it would, but based on current progress, it could be several more decades before it even seems to begin slowing down. Number 1. Caño Cristales, Colombia. The Caño Cristales is a small tributary river that feeds into the Guayabero River of Colombia. But due to its unique plant life, it's also commonly referred to as the most beautiful river in the world. The fast-flowing water passes through a region that's on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the Andes, and the eastern Llanos, and is almost perfectly clear. The riverbed has numerous holes and dips in it because of the way the rocks caught in the current erode the bedrock, and this has produced the ideal locations for a species of plant called Macarenia clavigera to grow. During the summer months, it takes on a gloriously red hue and also provides shelter for other species to grow that adds yellows, greens, blues, and blacks into the mix. It's no wonder that this place is also affectionately known as the Liquid Rainbow, and is so unusual that many visitors still can't believe that it's real, even when they're standing right next to it.